going through the card the first time is called the response phase. You provide as little direction as possible. The subject takes the lead. So let's say when we hand this person the first card, the person said a black bat flying. There's the wings and the head, okay, in the response phase. The first time you said, what might this be? That's what the person said. And you document what they say verbatim and record behavioral observations, okay? So you may behavioral and emotional observations or clinically relevant or interpretive relevant observations. You code those. Some of those are listed there. And so we go through all 10 cards as we suggested at the beginning, and adults average about 23 or 24 responses. You must have at least 15 responses, and very, very, very seldom do we get 15, 16, and 17. Okay? So that the groups that I have that have given less than 17 responses, kids have a couple times. We have about speaking from about 1,100 records now, the rpas records. And that there's a group of older schizophrenics that a couple of them gave less than 17 responses. There's probably another 500 or 600 records that we've collected in class that I teach, and I only think like once or twice there that these non-patient community volunteers for homework gave fewer than 17 responses. So if you only have if you have fewer than 16 responses, you go through the cards again. That's very, very seldom necessary, okay, to get enough responses. Now, so we go through the cards saying, what might this be? And we're basically saying nothing, okay? And then the second step is called the clarification phase. If you in a comprehensive system, it was called the inquiry. We call it the clarification phase because the goal is to clarify what the person said sufficiently to code. Okay? And the only purpose of the clarification phase is to give you enough information to code. That's the sole purpose of it. It's not to completely understand what the person said or how they're saying it. It's to code. We need to know, to be able to code, we need to know where the respondent sees it, what the respondent sees, and what makes it look like that. Okay, which are called location, contents, and determinants. Those are the three key things that we have to have for each response. So here's the introduction to the clarification phase. Now we're going to start the final step. While looking at the cards, I want to review your responses with you to clarify what it is you saw and how you saw it. So we will look at the cards one by one. I will read your responses back to you. And I want to know where on the card you were looking and what about the ink blot made it look like that to you. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if does that make sense is the greatest thing, because it really means do you understand? They can say, no, that doesn't make sense at all. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But that's what that's supposed to mean, just because it's kind of ambiguous. And so we're going through the cards a second time, and we hand back the card, right? Again, to document what is said verbatim, both by you and the respondent. I'm not sure that you really need to document what you say verbatim, okay? That you can just take a note there, or whatever, if you ask something. You may need to inquire or ask questions to ensure that location, content, determinants can be coded. And these are the kind of things that you said. You ask questions about things, we call them keywords. Keywords are things that suggest codes or suggest scoring issues. And you ask questions about that. And so we'll discuss more about about clarification phase in depth. We're going to come back to all these things in considerable depth and have you practice them, and also to give you more information. Okay, so this is sort of like giving you the overall schematic. So we're back here. We already said that. So now, now we're going to talk about some of the coding here. Okay, let me just see what's on the next response. Okay, and so we've gone through all 10 cards. We asked those questions, and now you sit down with this documentation. You have the verbatim stuff from the clarification phase, and parallel to that, you have the verbatim descriptions from the subject, and you've also circled on that location sheet. So you've circled on 1 or 2 location sheets where the information is. And based on that documentation, now you do the coding. Okay? Some of that coding you already know because you went through the clarification phase, you just haven't written it down yet.